Hello, this is going to be a video about the clusterfuck that is your party or the New Left Party or whatever we want to call it. I haven't done a video for ages, but and I haven't planned what I'm going to say, but I feel like we need to have a public conversation about this. Um, so here goes. I think that what happened yesterday and what's been happening over the course of the 2 and a bit years or whatever it is that there have been secret negotiations and discussions and deliberations and whatever else about this new party has really let down a lot of people, and I feel like really disappointed about that, even though I'd read the reporting on this and I'd been able to see that it's really a bad sign when one side is leaking information to the Murdoch press about the other side, trying to trash them. So I could see all the writing on the wall, and I know some of the people involved and some of the positions that they take, and I could see the intransigence, the refusal to shift of some of those people. But still, fucking hell, yesterday was horrible with what happened. We had on Monday, those of us who've signed up for information from your party got an email saying, eventually, after weeks of months of waiting, right? This is the timeline. This is the roadmap to setting up a party. It said that there was going to be within 2 weeks membership launched, and then there'll be a conference in November. Now, I was not happy with this email, mainly because my main focus is on the local and how local democracy is going to feed into this process, and there was no role for that at all. So they were going to have regional assemblies, but those regional assemblies were going to be centrally organised because they asked for volunteers to sign up to centrally to facilitate those. There was no devolvement there. And there's going to be a conference with delegates, but those delegates were going to be chosen by lottery. So again, the normal process for choosing delegates is through local branches of a trade union or a party, and then those delegates are accountable to the people who voted for them and report back to those people. This was not going to happen. So there was no role for the local at all. And there was no saying, at this point we'll set up branches, for example. That was not in the timeline or the roadmap. So I was not really very happy with this email, but whatever. I was pleased that at least they were launching something, that we had a commitment to starting a new party, to actually getting a membership that could be used as a basis for a conference, for example. So then yesterday we got an email launching membership. So I think all of us assumed that this was a follow-on from the previous one. But I was a bit surprised that it came so quickly, because everything has taken ages. So I was expecting it would go outside the 2 weeks or be on the last day or the last minute. I thought, wow, this is actually happening. And my suspicions there, I should have thought about it a bit more. I should have thought, well, actually, there's something else going on here. That became clear as there was a kind of escalating battle between two sides. I'm going to call them Team Jeremy and Team Zara. That simplifies things massively, but there are groups of people who align more with her ideas politically and vision for the party politically, and those who align with Jeremy's. Although I think actually neither of them have really sketched out, neither side has really sketched out what their vision is. And so a lot of this is running on personalities and style, and the factions aren't mapped out precisely to politics, or even at all to politics in lots of cases. But I think that division is there still. And I'll talk about that if I ramble onto it. So I'm going to call them Team Jeremy and Team Zara. Clearly, what emerged from yesterday was there was a kind of battle between them that escalated, with initially Team Jeremy saying this is implying this is not right, this is not official, then saying clearly this is not official, you should cancel your direct debits, you should not give money. And Team Zara saying this is official, and other people supporting it, her from her side, like Jamie Driscoll saying, yeah, be part of this. And that came down eventually to very dramatic statements, which I'll put links to in the description. One side, Team Jeremy, essentially saying this is fraud. We've reported Zara to the well, not Zara, but we've reported this to the ICO, we've taken legal advice. And Zara saying, this is a boys' club, they've been isolating me. This was the only way to hold on to our vision of the party as democratic, as socialist, as all of those things. I don't know whether that's what she said. That's broadly what she meant, right? And so we have a power play by Zara this morning where she has put a early day motion saying that MPs should not be landlords. This is clearly directed at some of the members of the independent group who have allied with Jeremy against her, particularly Adnan Hussein, who's been very vocal in speaking out against a lot of her ideas. So, well, I mean, where to start with this? Okay, so I just turned off the video then because I thought I was rambling too much, but I'm going to keep going because I don't think there's a clear way of illuminating all of this stuff, and it is very confusing. Things which I found helpful are a couple of articles by Archie Woodrow in Prometheus, which again I'll put links to in the description. He's also got some Twitter threads, a very important Twitter thread yesterday particularly that explains from his point of view, it's not unbiased. It's definitely more Team Zara than Team Jeremy, but I follow those biases. So I think that I kind of see him as a clear voice in this. And that's really helped me to understand what's going on, to make sense of it. So what happened is that there have been negotiations for a very long time, back and forth about this idea, and that deadlock of those negotiations, not just deadlock, but the apathy, the desire not to launch, I think, the failure to launch, was broken by Zara announcing. And Zara did the announcement on the basis of a motion that was passed within this collective group that was doing these negotiations. And this motion was something like Zara and Jeremy would jointly lead the foundation of a new party. And this motion was brought by Andrew Feinstein, is my understanding. And so he was the one who stood against Keir Starmer, and Holman St Pancras did really well, actually. Former ANC parliamentarian under the first Mandela administration, who left over corruption ultimately. Really good guy. And he put this motion and it won a majority within that collective. And it had the support of Team Zara, but not the support of Team Jeremy. So Team Jeremy decided to abstain. We know this because a lot of WhatsApp messages were leaked to the Times, the Murdoch press, by someone from Team Jeremy. Don't know who that was. Don't know if they're still involved. It would have been good if they'd come clean about that and spoken against that. We don't know for sure it was someone from Team Jeremy, but it's pretty clear from what was leaked and how it was leaked which side they were on. So the people in Team Jeremy decided to abstain. On the basis that a decision about this process shouldn't be taken by a top-down group, but should be taken by the grassroots. There's no indication of how that was going to happen. And anyway, a majority vote for this. And so on that basis, Zara resigned from the Labour Party and put out the announcement the party was starting. There was then briefing to the mainstream media, the right-wing media, that Jeremy wasn't happy. Eventually, though, this did create a fait accompli. The next day, Jeremy went along with it and put an announcement about a joint statement announcing the new party, announcing him and Zara's leadership of that. But then there was a kind of, obviously the collective had broken up. If you look at the Times articles, we see a lot of people being chucked out of that WhatsApp group who had taken the opposite side, by Carrie Murphy removed, Sama Yaqub, Carrie Murphy removed, I can't remember the other people, there was 3. So we see that there was a kind of battle going on, and in effect Zara kind of won round 1, but as a result, this group breaking down led to various compromise positions. One compromise position is that the data stayed with Team Jeremy and that the money stayed with Team Zara. And that I think the data is more powerful, but I think that's a reasonable compromise. But the other thing which was agreed was that the 4 other independent MPs would come in and it would make it a collective leadership of 6. I don't understand, on the basis of this was not agreed by the grassroots, how that could happen. Off the back of that, no announcement of it, no explanation. It's something that we only found out through the really good articles by Archie Woodrow and through the kind of de facto way in which statements have come out from the Your Party organisation and who signs them. But what that did was clearly all the 4 independent MPs had been working with Jeremy really closely, didn't know Zara, have all just become default Team Jeremy. And essentially, if you're going to go on majority positions, you're always going to have 5 versus 1 on any key issue. Team Zara's understanding is it shouldn't go on majority, but it should have sign-off and authorisation. Any key move should have sign-off and authorisation from both Jeremy and Zara. That hasn't happened. So the emails this week, the first one did not have sign-off from Zara, but it had majority sign-off. So Zara fought back with the second email. Now, the second email was, in a sense, her trying to replay the power move from before of getting things kicked off. But it was a little bit different. It wasn't simply trying to move things on. It was trying to retain the balance between Team Jeremy with the data and Team Zara with the money, because if Team Jeremy had been able to launch the membership in about a week's time, as they were planning to, and had put the money, taken the money away from the Team Zara account and created a new account, then the balance would have been off. She would have been excluded forever. Not just her, but her vision, the team of people she represents, the grassroots, who, like people like me, who more align with the way she's doing things, the way she thinks about stuff, the position she's spoken about publicly. So it was a incredible gamble by her, and I think she thought, well, I have to do this. If I do this, what's going to go on is going to be that Team Jeremy either have to accept this as the launch of the membership, or they have to go all-out war and destroy this party completely. And she gambled that they would not go all-out war and destroy the party completely, that they would accept this as opening membership of the party, that it was reasonable because it was keeping the same balance of power, that it was sticking to the timeline. But they went all-out war and they destroyed your party. And you can blame either. You can blame Zara for taking a risk that carried with it the very real possibility of the destruction of the hopeful vehicle for many hundreds of thousands of people, probably millions. Or you can blame Team Jeremy for blowing it all up. And I think I'm going to say that they need to, and not just say they need to get their act together. This is just horrible, really horrible. And I'm more on Team Zara, and I really don't think that calling the cops on people is the way to go, threatening legal action. There was an alternative. I really feel there was an alternative. And I think that's been missed. And I'm really sad about that. I don't think that alternative's there now. So the reasons why I align more with Team Zara, I have been very frustrated with the failure to have a new political party. I've seen there's been lots of opportunities when Jeremy was shut out of the Labour Party, when Jeremy was suspended from the Labour Party, when Jeremy became an independent candidate, and when there were many independent candidates before the next general election, following on from the general election, when we had momentum from the fact we had 5 independent MPs elected and many other independent movements burgeoning across the country. We had a lot of independent councillors, and we had a strong grassroots who had campaigned in a lot of these campaigns and who were building a lot of independent political movements, through housing movements, through Palestine movements, through trade unions, through a lot of grassroots organising. And I felt that was a real missed opportunity, and the dithering has been frustrating. And I was very relieved and happy that when Zara did finally force a move, that I don't know when or how it would have happened otherwise. And I was very happy to see her being very strong in statements on two things. One is her support for trans rights. Now, for a lot of people, the response has been, well, we're going to have a conference, we're going to have policy votes on this. I don't think we should be having a policy vote on trans rights any more than I think we should have a policy vote on whether we oppose sexism, we oppose racism, we oppose homophobia. All of these things should be the base of a movement, and Zara was the only one who was understanding that and stating that. And the other one is anti-Zionism. I do think it's important to understand that being anti-Zionist is part of being anti-racist, and that is something which no one can be any doubt of anymore. If there were equivocations previously, and obviously within the Labour Party that could not be the position. Within the Labour Party there is a Zionist affiliated organisation, and we should have been breaking that link, but we didn't have the power to do that, we didn't have the will to do that, and there was enormous pressure to accept the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism and to police that, and that pressure was conceded to. And I think it's important to do as Zara did and early on, and to recognise that mistake. And Jeremy thought it was a mistake at the time. I don't really understand why Jeremy then came out and said, I don't know why Zara had to mention that, sort of really spoke against Zara, because that was his position. That was a mistake to accept the IHRA definition, that he did it under pressure. It was against his better judgment that went through the NEC, and he tried to the last minute to get an exception on free speech that the NEC would not vote for. So really, I think Jeremy and Zara are aligned on that. I don't really understand why he's now... It felt like he was backtracking when he said that he'd been in favour of the Jerusalem Declaration in an interview, which the Jerusalem Declaration didn't even exist then. It wasn't even thought about. They hadn't started developing it. They started developing it partly because of entirely because of the way the IHA was having ascendancy and was being abused. And I think the position on anti-Zionism, the need to see Zionism as racism, is about more than just the Palestinian struggle. It's also about the mistakes, understanding the mistakes made during the Corbyn leadership, not repeating them, and particularly the failure to stand up for comrades and to defend to the hilt the kind of inclusivity of our movement. And we're all thinking in this new party, what's going to happen when those of us who were attacked publicly for anti-Semitism during Corbyn's time as leader and subsequently, and in my case, expelled not for anti-Semitism, but after allegations of anti-Semitism and for being anti-Semitism adjacent. What's going to happen when we're attacked publicly again in this party, when the Jewish Chronicle and the Jewish News run stories about us being members of this party? How is that going to be defended? And so, I mean, it seems a bit ironic to end on a call for unity in the face of the kind of horrific divisiveness of our leadership. But I really feel that we need to do that. And I really feel also that the solution for this, for me personally, is to have a focus locally. And I mean, although it's really grim what's happening, I'm really lucky to have very good comrades locally and lots of different movements that are really good in Hackney and that we've built. And in part, it was the absence of a national party that allowed us to build those. The energy that I was putting into Labour could go into something else. It went into other things as well. I didn't work as hard as I had under Jeremy Corbyn's Labour. I had more time for myself, which I think was also good, and for spending time with other people and doing fun things. So now but anyway, we did also build stuff, and I want to mention some stuff. I want to mention the Hackney Independent Socialist Collective, which is going to stand 6 candidates at the elections next year, 3 existing councillors who quit Labour, me and 2 other new candidates. And if you're in Hackney, please get involved. It's really good. And we've got a deal with the Greens, so it's an electoral collaboration. That means we won't be standing against each other. We'll be working as much as possible together. And the Greens in Hackney are super socialist, and the councillors at the moment have been really solid allies. I think of them as really good comrades. And so there's that. There's also a brilliant housing campaign, and it's not just a housing campaign, it's a planning, development, consultation campaign that I'm involved in called Morning Lane People's Space, which kind of got started after the 2019 general election. We started a little bit before that, but we launched publicly after that, shortly after that. And is about a site that the council bought for £60 million that currently has a big Tesco and a car park, and that they want to fill with private flats and just have a small Tesco there, or a smaller Tesco, not the tiniest ones, but the express ones. And like, people are up in arms about this, and the council had not told anyone. And the deal they did was terrible, and just, whatever we are, nearly a decade on from them doing the deal, they're still not decided what to do, because their plans went so against what people want. And this has been a really good campaign for working together, for talking to the public and getting residents involved at the grassroots level in something that really directly affects them and that we all care about. It's my local shop as well. I don't want 500 private flats going up there. And further gentrifying our area and transforming it. And the other one is the Palestine movement. And I didn't actually canvass in the general election last year, which was really weird for me, because we had a camp outside the town hall that have been going on for that stage well over a month. And so we kind of kept it going. And it was 24/7, and it was really intense. Like, the rota, I ran the rotas, it nearly drove me mad, but it was wonderful. Like, it was really wonderful. People coming together in Hackney to say to our council, you've got to divest and you've got to untwin from Haifa in Israel. And it brought so many new people into the Palestine movement, and it also brought so many new people into local politics. As a result of that, we have people standing for council who would not have stood for council otherwise. I think I'm one of those, but there are others. We have people canvassing who would not have canvassed otherwise, leafleting who would not have leafleted otherwise. We have people, someone came out canvassing at the weekend who didn't in the past vote in local elections, and he now really cares about the local, understands not just how it impacts Palestine, but also how it impacts a lot of issues. And it's been really good for making people more connected to the area. And we have Hackney Votes Palestine, which is a genuinely amazing grassroots movement that can mobilise 50 plus people regularly for campaign events. And young people, again, people who've not necessarily voted in local elections before, sometimes who don't know how the local election voting works, and they're out there putting leaflets through doors, asking people, explaining to people what the issues are. So I would say try to build something positive. There's been a lot of, and I guess we're all in WhatsApp groups where there's a lot of back and forth yesterday, a lot of people DMing me on Twitter and stuff, and a lot of public Twitter discourse, and now this video. And I think there's a need for that. There's a need to have these discussions, but if you're just having these discussions, if you're not doing stuff, I think that's really hard, tough. It would be really tough on me. And I want to be doing things. So I want to be building something. And that, I think I have to believe that all of us building things locally is going to add up to something, and that will create something, even if our leaders are not helping and not what we need them to be.